Juice Wrld, where you go, that's with an O. This is Juice Wrld, WRLD, Bill. Juice Wrld, the rapper.
Juice Wrld.
Yeah, there's probably more people now who are familiar with Juice Wrld, at least over the age of 25, than were before, because he died over the weekend. Mm-hmm. This is a kid who came up in Chicago. He got signed to Interscope about a year ago. We just had him at the iHeartRadio Music Festival. We have a thing called the Daytime Stage, where it's like up-and-comers. Mm-hmm. And this kid got huge on SoundCloud, and he was from the south suburbs, went to Homewood Flossmoor High School. For our Chicago listeners, they know precisely where that is. And he died over the weekend at Midway Airport.
I heard.
After having a seizure. So this was literally a kid. I mean, I guess if you're on TikTok a lot, you're probably crying bitter tears because there was a lot of emo Juice Wrld rapper type stuff on there. And I know my daughter had posted a thing on Instagram.
Oh, like
it's a race between my daughters to see who can post first, and then they have to prove to each other who's the biggest fan.
Who's more sad about it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that what it is? It's a race to show.
Yeah.
And what do they win?
Tears.
The more approval from their friends, and because they run in close enough circles that they can. And it was more when they were in high school, but like when Lil Peep died, they were just like, "No, I am more sad about Lil Peep." I'm like, I don't think you guys are mourning correctly. I don't think this is how you do it. I don't think
it's not really a competition.
Did they say anything about Mac Miller?
Oh yeah, well that was another one. Like it was Lil Peep and his Mac Miller, and one of my daughters is a bigger fan of Lil Peep, and the other one's a bigger fan of Mac Miller. So I know who the bigger fans were because I actually knew, like they're all connected to my music account, so I know who's listening to what. So I can be like, I'll settle this right now. I'll tell you who's the bigger fan of Lil Peep, and I'll tell you who's the bigger fan of Mac Miller. And they're like, well, there's this one song that really speaks to me. I'm like, you guys are dorks.
It really speaks to me.
I forget that my son is on most of my streaming accounts, and so they'll send you those end of the year play.
Yeah.
Here's what you listen to the most. Not one song that I actually listen to is on this list. I'm looking at, and it took me a second to figure it out. I go, somebody hacked my... oh, it's my son. Yeah, all this crap. Anyway, Juice Wrld was legitimately, like, on the rise, this kid. Like, he had just signed a huge deal with Interscope. He's 21. He has a seizure at Midway Airport. And now all of his, like, friends are talking about what happened, and it doesn't sound like this was a random seizure.
I was going to say, it's probably drug-related.
Well, he flew in on a private plane in the FBI because, I guess... when you're a rapper and you die, they call the FBI in? I don't know. That the private plane that he flew in on had 70 pounds of weed on it.
Jeez. That's so much weed.
And that he had a Percocet problem and he had taken a lot of pills before his seizure. They found a bottle of cough syrup on the plane.
Oh,
I don't know how...
he was...
Robo-tripping.
On that lean.
Zan with that lean.
So anyway, so it's still sad, I guess, if you were into Juice Wrld. I mean, again... more people are probably hearing about him in death than they did, at least in a certain demographic in life. But again,
it's a little less sad, right?
What's that?
What?
When he did it to himself.
Well, they don't know.
They don't know what happened.
I mean,
they don't know if he had. He certainly whatever.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that this is a drug-related death.
If he had,
might not be. And then he had feel like a real dick.
If he had
I'll be fine.
If he had a condition, this clearly exacerbated it.
Yeah.
He just turned 21 about 2 weeks ago. So he's a young man.
All these guys are rapping about is how they are taking, like Lil Nas X, like or not him. Who's the one?
Lil Xan.
Lil Xan, yeah. Like he's always talking about
his name. Yeah, that's his name.
That's his name. His name is Lil Xan, and he's talking. And then like I think he got clean finally, which is good because I don't want these kids to die, but when all your songs that made you famous are about abusing drugs, and then you die of abusing drugs. It's hard for me to be overly sad about it.
Well, especially in hip hop, where you kind of have to like live the life. Like, I mean, Van Halen famously was drinking tea out of Jack Daniels bottles on stage. So just because you're rapping about having a Percocet problem, you don't have to have a Percocet problem.
Would you have felt that same way if I died in a drunk driving accident?
I would have had a lot of guilt because you're close friends of mine. So I've been like, man,
but
if you were behind the wheel,
have laughed it off and been like, she just dead because you can't stop drinking.
If you were behind the wheel, you mean?
No, but that's like a really bad thing to say.
But I'm saying when you're close to someone,
either or.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's my fault. I'm drunk.
I was going to say, if you were killed by a drunk driver, that's
no. But what I would say is, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Bill would say, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Mary
devastated,
was
but
drunk.
I would say, we tried.
It was only a
to
matter
help
of
her.
time.
I let her know. I would feel somewhat guilty for like being someone that didn't help you get better, I guess. But I mean, it's
Well,
one
that's
of
what
those
I'm
things.
saying is that it's not. I mean, it's hard because yes, these people do these things themselves. But when you struggle with an addiction, it's not as easy as you
Right.
didn't stop.
But this is
you
an
know what I
alcohol
mean?
addiction.
And you
This
got to
is
want
like-
to as
Well,
well.
a pill
Like-
addiction can be way worse.
I know it can be way worse, but we also like they are the same ones that are trying to make it look like it's a good thing, and then when they die from it,
No, I get.
like,
I mean,
what-
bragging
like,
about it in a song.
What do you
I get.
need? Like, what other signs do you need other than everyone that you like that's a musician dying of the thing that they're rapping about? Like, these aren't gangster rappers out there getting shot.
Not only that, it's not like this dude had a back problem.
Yeah.
And he was taking Percocet for
Yeah.
it. I
No,
mean, if
he's
you're doing
doing
it
it at the party,
if
yeah.
you're doing it recreationally, yeah, but then things are probably not going to end well for you. But anyway,
And same thing, like Lil Peep
Just think
and
it's-
like Lil
it's-
Xan.
Rip
But
Peep.
yes, is
Tough when
it,
you start doing it because you think it's cool, and then you actually get addicted to it, and you can't stop. And then I get it.
I think a lot of it comes from depression and isolation. These
Right.
people are up, in the studio 12 hours, 16 hours a day, and then they're like, I just want to sleep. I have to go to sleep right now. Otherwise, I'm going to be really tired the next day, and I have another 12 to 16-hour studio session. So a lot of it comes from...
All right, first of all, it sounds like they've been in. I've heard their music. It
There's
like
no
they've
way
spent
that's taken
a
16
total
hours a day.
Of 12 hours in their entire life in the studio.
I'm just saying they might make an entire album in 16 hours. I'm not saying they're working on one song, but I mean, when you're
If they're making an entire album in 16 hours, then it's spaced out over a few weeks. I'm saying there's ways that you can do all this stuff, but that's the beauty. Like, that's not the beauty, but the part of rock and roll and hip hop is living that dangerous lifestyle. And then people live vicariously through you. The problem is, like Alan was saying, they're not pretending, they're actually living it, and then they're
Right.
dying. Like Motley Crue drinking iced tea instead of Jack Daniels. They're pretending.
No, Van Halen.
Oh,
Motley
Van Halen,
Crue
yeah.
did
Oh,
everything they
yeah,
said
that's
they
who
were
it was,
doing,
yeah.
yes, and then some. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I don't know.
They
It's
were
just-
killing other people, not
I
themselves.
just don't think it's as black and white as this is your fault. Sorry about your luck. You died. I
I'm,
don't think
I'm
it's
not
that
saying
simple.
it's that. I'm saying I'm not surprised if it is drugs.
Right.
And I'm not. And I still think it's sad. I think the kid probably was very talented. It's not my type of music, but
Right.
Also,
it
if you're
doesn't
coming
matter
up,
it's mine.
it also doesn't help if you don't have like an older. I don't know, if you don't have somebody in the business near you that's like, hey, listen, young blood, like there's a lot of stuff that's going to get thrown at you. Like somebody that doesn't say to you, keep your head on straight,
Right.
But you still want to party and do stuff. But anyway, they found a lot of weed on his plane.
And that was my next question. You're allowed to do that? Like, I'm talking about like getting weed through TSA, and this guy has a private plane where he could put 70 pounds of weed in, and the pilot doesn't say anything.
It's his
or like,
plane, probably.
It was
it's not
it
his
was
plane.
in suitcases. It
Yeah.
wasn't like they were
They don't
bringing
check your
saran wrapped
bags.
bricks. I mean, yeah.
when you fly private, you don't go through TSA.
Take whatever you want on
just-
there.
You don't go through customs when you fly private?
No, I don't
You're
know.
not,
if
you're
you're not
not
flying
leaving
outside
the
the
country
country.
or anything.
But I'm saying if he does.
If he's leaving the country, yeah, you have to
Okay.
go through customs, but they come to you
Wow.
and they'll do more of a check. But if he's just flying,
If he's going from
within
here to
the United
California,
States,
yeah.
then they don't do that kind of check.
Wow. Okay.
Surprised you didn't know this. You're the one that knows everything about flying private and being famous and rich.
I have a friend that is like that, but I never asked him. Oh, can you get weed or coke on there? Well,
Yeah, you don't want to be the guy asking those
Yeah, 'cause
questions.
he's
They're like,
like-
why are you asking me? You're never
Exactly.
flying with me, bro. Hey, I've got a shot for you to win $1 million. That's what we're doing over the holidays, is giving you a crack at this, so good luck.
Your shot at $1 million now.
Text the nationwide keyword cold to the number 200-200. That's cold to the number 200-200. You'll get a confirmation text and info, and standard data and message rates apply in this nationwide contest. That's cold to the number 200-200. Good luck from 100.7 WMMS.
He didn't get the music.
What?
Forgot it at the beginning.
Well, he wasn't the only one to die. You know, they say that celebrities die in threes, and at least 3 celebrities died this weekend.
Dang.
One of them kind of obscure. I remember him because I'm old. An actor by the name of René Auberjonois.
Okay.
Very French name, but an American actor. He was in Star Trek. He was in... I remember him from Benson. For people who remember the show Benson. If you were a Star Trek nerd, you'd probably know him from one of those shows. He was Father Mulcahy in the movie version of MASH. But you probably saw him in something over the years. He had lung cancer, and he died over the weekend.
Did he smoke? Just do the blame game today.
I don't know if he
Whose fault
smoked.
is it that he died?
Yeah, I
Well,
don't.
Why is he
79,
dead?
yeah.
I know, right?
I don't know. Yeah, he was in Deep Space Nine for a long time. If you were into
It's all
those
that space.
Star Trek
Yeah,
shows.
Space is giving him lung
I'll
cancer.
tell you what, there's so little air
Yeah.
out there. There's no air.
Your lungs are working overtime.
This guy.
Work at.
Workout. And then Carol Spinney died, who was Big Bird for 50 years.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah, I saw that one.
Carol Spinney died at 85. There's a documentary called, I think, I Am Big Bird or
Yeah.
something about this guy. And it's fascinating if you watch any of the act outs of how this guy worked Big Bird. Like his arms up here, and he's got 3 fingers in the... He's kind of doing a shocker in Big Bird's mouth and eyes.
How
with-
tired would your arm get?
Well, I don't know if he had a brace or... I don't know. But, I mean, imagine if you could make a living as a puppeteer... Right place, right time when Sesame Street happens, and then it just, you don't know that the show's going to be anything, and
Is
then
he
it's
in
on.
the suit with his arm up like
He
that?
was,
Yeah.
yes.
Wow.
Yep. He also played Oscar the Grouch. So, but the documentary, I think it's called I Am Big Bird, was Carol Spinney, and he was 85 years old.
I always think of, whenever I hear Oscar the Grouch, I always think of Dave Chappelle. When he's like, bitch, I live in a trash can. So funny.
I remember.
He's like, hello, bird.
I remember trying to explain that bit to somebody when I
So
was
funny.
in when I first got to the missionary training center before I went to the Philippines. I spent 6 weeks in, or maybe even a little longer, in Provo, Utah, learning the language, and I was trying to explain to this other Mormon kid the Dave Chappelle bit about Sesame Street, and I did a very bad job because I couldn't use any of the swear words, and he's like, so Sesame Street's on drugs? I'm like, nah, it's not
No,
exactly.
It's not.
It's funny though.
Every
Love
time,
that.
I hear,
Best-
every time I
best
hear his
special
name,
ever.
that's what I think. Bitch, I live in a trash can.
Yeah. So, you know, Alan, please, whatever you do, be safe out there. We can't afford to lose Lil Cashew Tooth. Listen, Lil Cashew Tooth is not, yes, it is my rap alter ego, but kind of been MIA for a minute.
I was going to say, I've not heard this.
By design. Yeah, no, I mean,
He
you
was
know.
supposed to dress up as him for Halloween last year.
Yes, that's
and
right.
He didn't.
And the
And
place
that's pretty much been the death of him.
the place that I was supposed to do that, they balked at my $350 an hour,
Not
which
worth
now
it,
I
huh?
hear that elves are charging.
Elves are doing it, not fake rappers. though.
Yeah, fake. Pardon me.
If you're dressing up as him, you're being...
Well, it's my alter ego. I mean, it comes with a costume, but in no way is it fake.
Got it.
I spit bars, son.
I didn't realize. Kit Kat bars or... What kind of bars?
White people, am I right, Poundcake? Anywho.
Correct.
Correct.
Cosign.
Right. Alan, it's his fault. F him, he dead. Bye, hood rat. Well, listen, we
I
have
don't know if I go that far.
we have a wide array of sympathetic sentiments in our audience among our customers, and that's one end of the spectrum. And, of course, I'm sure that person is a lifelong fan of rap and hip-hop, and that's why they've come to that conclusion. But, you know, listen, anybody who's just turned 21, hey, whatever. You know,
Yeah.
didn't even make it to 27. Didn't even make it to that mythological Janis Joplin, Kurt Cobain, Jim Morrison thing, you know?
Yeah.
You got to wonder
27
why.
Club.
You got to wonder why it took those people longer to die. I mean, I know Kurt Cobain kind of, you know, took himself out allegedly, but all the other ones, you know, Amy Winehouse, whatever. I was thinking of you because they might be developing a once-a-month birth control
Whoa!
that they is a little difficult to explain, but they've tested it in rats. It always starts
Oh,
in
good.
rats. They tested it in rats, and none of those rats are getting pregnant.
Okay.
So then they go to the conclusion that, well, maybe we should try this in humans. A once-a-month birth control pill. Mary starts the show by saying no babies because when the show used to start at 3 o'clock, that coincided with when you would take your daily birth control pill.
Correct. They changed it
Now the way
for
they
the show.
the way they do this is that it kind of drips the contraceptive throughout the month.
Ugh.
What they've done is they have like a little, it's like the shape of a ninja star, right?
Uh-huh.
And then the points are folded in with hormones in them and then put in a capsule form. Then you take the capsule disintegrates, and then the star points come back out. And those drip the hormone through your body throughout the month. So you're only taking one a
So it
month.
takes you like a month to digest it or to process it?
It just kind of I guess, processes it
Just
throughout the
sits
month.
there.
It just sits there.
That's got to be affected by food, wouldn't you think?
I don't know.
Like what you eat maybe speeds it up or slows it down, or if you don't eat.
Don't
or
know.
Drinking or
Yeah.
other medications. Yeah, that seems.
I mean, you're not going to be drinking, of course.
No, but
yeah.
Yeah, that's
So
very
they've
weird. I don't know
done
if I'd
this
like
on
that.
they've done it on pigs and rats.
I've been taking a birth control pill since I was 16 years old. It's been 14 years of me taking birth control, and I'm fine with it.
Did you start taking birth control after you lost your virginity, or was it in
No.
preparation for?
No, it was because I had really messed up periods. When
Oh.
I first started getting I had my period for like 2 years, but I would get it for like 3 weeks straight, and then I wouldn't get it for 2 months, and then I'd get it for 4 days, and then 2 weeks later I'd get it for 10 days, and then I wouldn't get it for another 3 months, and it was all over the place. But having to explain that, like my mom knew that, but my dad was like whose health insurance I was on.
Yeah.
So explaining to my dad, like, hey, here's what's going on. I'm not having sex. I had a high school sweetheart at that point, but at 16, it very much seems like that's what's going on. But it was for biological reasons.
Because that's what every girl says. She goes,
really was,
I
though.
need to get on it to regulate my period.
Well, it does, and it helps a lot.
I
But
know it
yeah.
does, and it's like a cool, it's a cool back door, if you will, to get yourself birth control if your parents are against it. You're like, you don't want me being a bitch all the time, do you?
I don't want you being a mom all the time, so I'd be like, yeah,
Yeah.
get the birth control.
Right.
Yeah.
I read somewhere that their periods attract bears. The bears can smell the menstruation.
Now, do you know if that's true?
I don't know
Bears
if
can
that's
smell
true or not.
menstruation.
Probably true about sharks, but
All right.
yeah.
Yeah, is that an urban legend when they tell girls not to go swimming when they have their
Your period
in
stops
the
in
ocean?
the water.
Huh?
Blood does not come out of you if you're in the water.
Because of the vacuum and all that.
Because of the vaginal vacuum, which is opening at the Agora this weekend.
Oh, God. Vaginal vacuum.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of no babies. Anywho. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, listen, that Ninja Star contraceptive
about all that.
might be coming soon. Something to think about.
I'm a big advocate for the pill. A lot of my friends do different. You can get the Depot shot, which you get once every like 3 months.
3 months or 6
Yeah.
months, I think. there's
Something like that,
different
but
ones,
it's almost a guaranteed weight gain with that one, just because of the amount of hormones they're putting into you and stuff like that. But with like the pill, I've had such a good experience with it that basically I either get 1 or 2 days or I don't get a period at all.
Why don't you just get your tubal ligation?
A couple years ago, I talked about getting my tubes tied with a doctor, and they said that I wasn't old enough and I didn't have any kids,
Yeah, you have
so
to
I
have kids
wasn't able
first.
to have that. I wasn't able to make that decision.
You have
But
to
I was
have
like,
kids
Yeah.
before
you
you
have
can
to
do
have
that?
a certain. They have to be a certain age, or one of each gender, or like there are rules.
Why?
to
That
when
sounds
you can
completely made up.
My
I
mother got
swear
It's
on my
not,
life,
though,
it's
because
very real.
We don't let women control their own bodies.
100%. There's like a list of stipulations before you can even think about getting your tubes tied, and it's almost impossible for a woman to get her tubes tied if she doesn't have medical issues and no children, because they're like, you're going to change your mind and it's an irreversible process. Blah blah blah. You have to be a certain age. You have to do.
But they
this.
let guys get vasectomies all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Are you telling me that there's a double standard, Bill, between how we treat men's reproductive rights and how we treat women's?
There's
Would
no
you-
way to know.
Would you believe it?
There's
Would
simply
you
no
believe it?
way to figure that out. Boy, you'd think I'd be hearing more about that. You'd think some people would take to the streets with perhaps placards and sticks.
Maybe they would.
All right.
Maybe
who
they'd
cares?
march. Maybe
Get
a whole
on that.
group of people
Get
would march
on
about
that.
it.
Maybe with hats. Something. You need something to catch the
Usually,
eye.
yeah.
Visually striking. All right. Well. Hey, Magic of Lights. Talk about visually striking, why don't you? Magic of Lights is a lot of fun. They do it up at the Cuyahoga County Fairgrounds out there in Berea. Drive through, pack the kids in the car. Oh, it's holiday fun in every direction. So I'll have some passes for you shortly. 35192 if you want to text. AlanCoxShow.com for everything else.
It's the Alan Cox Show on 100.7 WMMS. And everywhere you go.